What's up, gamers? SweetJohnnyCage here. Today, I'm going to give you guys my E3 predictions. These aren't bets as I'm not putting any stakes on them, but this is a pretty interesting year for E3, both with Microsoft and Sony and Ubisoft, Bethesda, everybody. To me, this is not exactly a year of how will they top last year, because if I'm being really honest, I can't think of ways they can top last year, but I do think that some announcements are going to be made that aren't necessarily going to be bombshells, because I kind of feel like we're past that point in our about 4 years into this generation, 3.5, 4 years, and it's kind of time to start sustaining these things and release games that aren't necessarily blockbusters that are going to sell, like 20, 30 million copies, but are at least going to keep people entertained while the next level of games are coming out, stuff like Death Stranding, Final Fantasy VII Remake, Shenmue 3, stuff like that. So let's get to it. The first thing that I'm going to predict is that we will get a release window for Quake Champions. I've been in the beta since March or early April, late March, somewhere around there. I forget when it started. The game is very much in a playable state. It's getting balanced and retuned. Sacrifice has gone through at least one full round of changes. We haven't seen much in terms of champion balancing and changing passives and actives and base health and all that sort of stuff. But it's in a very workable state. So I think we'll at least get a release window. I don't think a firm date is ready yet. I don't think this game is ready for a firm date. There's still a lot of stuff that I would at least like to see changed. There's still some geometry problems that they haven't really addressed yet. You get stuck on the map sometimes. Things like that absolutely need to be ironed out before you release the game, in my opinion. But I think maybe we'll get like a holiday 2017 or something like that release date. I think it's in a state to where Christmas of this year is doable. Moving right along into the Microsoft press conference, we have been told, and it has been teased and teased and teased, that we are getting to see Project Scorpio at this press conference. I'm assuming we're going to see the retail kit because Major Nelson just did a video either this week or late last week showing the dev kit and going into that and all the features. So I would assume that we're going to see the retail kit because it's very rare that we actually see a dev kit to begin with. So seeing the retail kit seems logical. I'm going to say that it'll release in November of this year in 2017. And it's going to be $599. When I was writing down these predictions, I wrote down $599. I've actually only written down $599 one time. Ignore the first list, I just put it in order. But I only wrote down $599. But when I was starting to make this video, I figured, well, maybe it'll be $499. But I just don't think that's true. The PS4 Pro right now goes for $399. This system is supposed to be a good deal more powerful than that. But for some reason, something's telling me that Microsoft can't get this box down to where $499 would sell at any sort of profit, or they wouldn't take a huge loss on it. I have no evidence to back that up. It's just my gut feeling, and that's what I'm going with. I am pretty concerned that this box will price Microsoft out of the market for the rest of this generation, and I say that because Xbox One games will be backwards compatible on this thing, and there will be no Scorpio exclusives. I just fact-checked that. It was in a GameSpot article back in September of 2016, and it has been confirmed again recently in a Eurogamer article just kind of saying, here's what we know so far. So there will be no Scorpio exclusives. So once again with Microsoft, I sort of fail to see the point of this box. They release all their games on PC, or a very good majority of these games are available on PC, and the Xbox One is not as powerful as a PS4 or a PS4 Pro, so am I supposed to buy a Scorpio, am I supposed to buy an Xbox One, or should I just play these games on PC? It's a really tough sell, and I don't mean to sound super negative, but to me, I just can't think of a way to where they can say this box is part of the Xbox One family, and yet not push out the original Xbox One in a way. If you take a look at how Sony marketed or didn't market the PlayStation 4 Pro, they had a reveal event that kind of stunk. Really didn't show much. The one in Japan was actually a bit more lively, but Andrew House Mark Cerny and Andrew House just sort of like came out and said, here's what's in the box, here's what it does, here's what it can do. It's $399. I think it was $399 at launch. It's available in, I forget, like September. And I'm struggling to remember these things, and I'm not really going to bother looking them up, but it's just, they never really pushed it. It was available for people who wanted it and who knew what it was about. You can go to PlayStation.com, you could look at what's in the box, you could see for yourself if you wanted to go out and do that sort of research. But it was never really pushed to be the next generation of console. It was just the next iteration if you wanted it. But here we have Microsoft saying, no, this is the most powerful gaming device or gaming console on the market. Here's why you should buy it. Like, that to me is what this E3 press conference is all about for Microsoft, is why should I buy a Scorpio? And I think that having it at a $599 price point is going to make it a really difficult sell. So I'm kind of waiting with bated breath. I don't know if I'll buy one, but I'm sticking at $599. I don't think they can make it $499, but we'll have to wait and see. So going into the Sony press conference, last year they revealed that Crash Bandicoot would be getting a remaster for Crash 1, 2, and 3. I don't think that they will talk about a new Crash Bandicoot at this event. Reason being, Crash HD Remix, whatever you want to call it, Insane Trilogy, comes out at the end of this month, June 30th. I don't think they would want to talk about a new Crash Bandicoot before that releases. I do think we're getting one at some point. I just don't think it'll be talked about at this press conference yet. If it is, I'll be pleasantly surprised, but I just don't think it's happening. My next two predictions are also about ports. I think we're either going to get a Final Fantasy 8 or 9 port to the PS4, not an HD remaster, nothing like that. Similar to what they did with FF7, to where you have a turbo mode and, like infinite HP and MP, stuff like that. Those like weird little cheats that they give you if you push in the analog sticks. I think we'll get something like that just to kind of tide us over until FF7R or even Kingdom Hearts 3 at this point. Just something easy enough to where it's nothing crazy for them to do. They're already on PC, so bringing them to PS4 I don't think will be a huge deal, but I think that's happening. My final port prediction is for a Shenmue HD collection for Shenmue 1 and 2. It was put on Xbox, I believe. I know Shenmue 2 is on Xbox. I just don't exactly remember if Shenmue 1 was on Xbox. But bringing that to PS4 and kind of completing the trilogy all on PS4 with Shenmue 3, I think it's a good move. And it'll allow people to play those games, catch up to the series for Shenmue 3, and bring in a new audience for Shenmue. Because it being on the Dreamcast, not a lot of people played it. It being on the Xbox, and it being a weird RPG action kind of game, not a lot of people really kind of played it on Xbox. So bringing it onto a console that has sold roughly 60 million units and, putting the entire trilogy on there, I think is a good look. So my final three predictions are also for PlayStation. And like I said, I don't think this is the year for blockbusters necessarily. I don't think we're going to see anything that we haven't seen before, at least for the most part. I'm sure there's going to be one or two new IPs, but to me, this is the year that will show us what we're going to be playing soon. In that vein, I think Deep Down is going to get re-revealed. I know I talked about this when the PS4 Pro was coming out. There was a pretty big rumor that Deep Down was going to be a PS4 Neo at the time exclusive, or was going to come back out then. I looked into this a bit because I remember around that time Capcom was sort of running out of money, and they had reportedly $152 million in the bank as of September 2013. When Deep Down was revealed in February of that year, 7 months prior, it seemed like it was at least in development, it was moving along, but then we got this report that they were running out of money, so I think it just sort of stopped. And, the developers went elsewhere to either work on Street Fighter or Resident Evil 7 or something, but I think now it's time for it to come back. So, I'd really like it to, because with the end of Dark Souls, at Dark Souls 3 and the final DLCs, we can still use more action RPGs in that vein, and I think having something new and as beautiful as Deep Down was would be really, really cool. Speaking of Dark Souls, a lot of people, including myself, are wanting Bloodborne 2, but I don't think that's what we're going to get from Software this year. Instead, I think we're going to get a brand new IP. I think Bloodborne was a one-and-done game. Dark Souls is over. That deal with Bandai Namco is probably for 3 games, and that's probably over. So I think having a brand new IP, not Souls, not Bloodborne, just brand new from Software, would kind of push that company into a new direction and move them away from this one genre of games that they've been making for so long. I'm sure maybe we'll get an Armored Core, but I think we'll also get a brand new IP. I know I said that Shenmue HD was my final port prediction, but I didn't want to break the context, so I actually have one more. In the same vein as From Software bringing us a new IP, I think in the meantime, we're going to get a Demon's Souls remaster. Dark Souls 1, I think, could go to PS4. I mean, it's been available on PC since 2011, but I know porting it to there was kind of a nightmare for From. And having a PS3 game like Demon's Souls, it was PS3 exclusive, published by Sony in Japan, but Atlas here in the States. I think by now, Sony and From could have worked out the rights to where they can license it, at least from Atlas, to release it again here in America and kind of update it and give it a fresh coat of paint. But I think that there are enough people that didn't get the chance to play Demon's Souls who now own a PS4 but didn't own a PS3 back then, and giving us a way to kind of tide us over until this brand new IP comes out, or even if it's Bloodborne 2, we still think it's a brand new IP. But I just think putting Demon's Souls on PS4 would kind of complete the quadrilogy almost, although Dark Souls 1 isn't on PS4 yet either, but maybe it's both. I just think Demon's Souls is coming to PS4 for now, though. There you have it, my 8 predictions for E3 2017. It was difficult for me to come up with these predictions, I will say that. I'm going to E3 this year. This is my first year going. I'm going tomorrow, actually, by the time this is uploaded. Leaving Saturday, coming back on Friday, so it's my first E3 ever. So I've kind of just been focused on getting this trip done, you know, like getting on the plane, getting there, and enjoying it. So I haven't really spent a lot of time thinking about what might come out of this E3. Last year, we got God of War, we got Days Gone, we got Death Stranding, but we now know that Final Fantasy VII Remake, Shenmue 3, Kingdom Hearts 3, they're so far away that it'll probably be like 2019, 2020 at this point, that we need games that we can kind of play now to hold us over. And I think using ports and some newer IPs that are coming quickly is a good way to do that. Like I said earlier, the Xbox press conference is the thing that I will be watching the most closely. I can't really think of a way for Microsoft to market this new Xbox without alienating its player base as it is. I believe I said the same thing with the PS4 Pro is coming out. You know, I didn't want them to alienate it. But Sony the entire time kept that very low key. At no point at E3 last year were they saying, you know, this will look the best on PS4 Pro. They never really put it in your face like that. It's just available for people who want it. Microsoft, however, is not in the position of having sold 60 million units. They're not in the position of having all these insane exclusives. To me, when I think of Xbox right now, I think of Gears of War and Halo. I stopped playing Gears of War after Gears of War 2, and I played Halo 3, and I played the first two with friends and, you know, played them in local multiplayer, but as a kid who grew up playing Quake, Halo never really spoke to me like Quake did, so I didn't really get into it. When a new Halo gets announced, I get excited because I think it's good, but I'm not going out and buying it. I'm not that person. I'm excited to see how they do it. I'll talk about it when I get back, but that's just what I'm most concerned about for this E3. I think Sony will knock it out of the park. Bethesda I'm really excited about. I'm excited for Ubisoft, and this may be their last super creative E3 now that Vivendi has almost completed a hostile takeover of them. If you haven't looked that up, look it up in the news. It's a really unfortunate story, which stinks. EA I'm not really excited about at all. I know last year they spent almost 70% of the time just talking, not even showing games. There's a NeoGAF thread just today or yesterday talking about the percentages of talking versus gameplay, and EA was the worst offender. So I'll be on the plane, I believe, when that press conference is happening, so I probably won't be able to catch it live. I'll, catch the archive, but I'm not really excited about it. For me, it's really Bethesda, Microsoft, and Sony this year, and Microsoft I'll be watching most closely. If you have any E3 predictions for this year, put them in the comments. I'd love to talk about them with you. As always, you can find me on Twitter at SJCage. Also, be sure to visit my website, SweetJohnnyCage.com. This is where I archive all my work dating back from 2007 until today. Alright guys, I'm Sweet Johnny Cage. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you after E3.